hope that helps. Come on. Okay. So, good idea. So, in 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev came to power. President Reagan was sworn into office. Madonna was like a virgin. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Rambo and the Goonies were in the cinema. Roger Moore was 007. And Microsoft launched Windows 1. In 1985, the Titanic was found. And I would just like to clarify for anybody who doesn't realize this, that the Titanic was working fine when it left Belfast. A great deal has changed since a nervous, slightly clueless bunch of Edinburgh medics were let loose on patients in earnest. Of course, some things have not changed. Teviot Place still looks like Teviot Place. Simon Russell Beale is still doing amazing things on stage and screen. I went to college with his brother, you know. I guess you do know. Yeah. Ross Lawson still looks like Ross Lawson, as does Martin Rutter. That doesn't quite work, but I think you know what I mean. Yeah, hard to tell the difference. And Airdrie Unions Football Club, despite their new football ground, are still crap. Sorry, Gregor. But where did the 30 years go? Where did the hair go? Someone who's been in a recent 30-year reunion told me it was the strangest thing to be in a gathering where you felt younger than nearly everyone else there. I had a little epiphany in the tour of the Anatomy Museum this morning. I realized that we're all on a little bit of a journey. It was in this cabinet. I once was an ectomorph. I was never a mesomorph, but I am fast becoming an endomorph. I wish you well on that journey yourself. We should first say thank you. Thank you for everyone for coming. Brilliant. Thank you for making this event meaningful for everybody else. Reunions are potentially unnerving things. But they get easier as time goes on. That so many people have made the effort to travel here to Edinburgh says something about those 5 or 6 years incubating together the MBCHP virus that has spread so widely and so virulently across the world. Can I just do a little bit of what Tony did, check some distances. How many came today from Scotland? Okay. How many came from Ireland? How disgusting is that? How many from Wales? No. What about America and Canada? Yeah. Great. Africa and Asia? Any Asian? Africa? No. Australia? New Zealand? Have I left anybody out? England! England, yeah, okay. Right. Thank you too, to use those partners who have risked coming to this event tonight. Those partners who have risked the challenge of being bored to death as we discuss whether Dr. Chidden actually did have 3 wives. Did Prof. Flenley really fail somebody 2 weeks before medical finals? Yes. Who was Stuart Donald? Why did the Monroe button, invented in the Eastern, never catch on? Were those people in our year who were a bit scary, really scary? Or were they just putting it on? Questions and many more have been and will be asked over this weekend. Thank you for coming and sharing this little bit of indulgence and nostalgia with us. An opportunity to take stock. Let's give our non-FYC85 guests a cheer. I've also, to pass on a little bit like a wedding, a few emails from people who could not be here in person. Chris Rigg, who looks remarkably similar to the person I remember from 1985, is an anaesthetist in Hull who forsook the Edinburgh weekend for a trip on the Mersey ship near Madagascar. Well done, Chris. Rachel Carter, like myself, is a palliative care consultant. She's working in Truro. She sends her best wishes. And Duncan Robertson. Can we just put up volume, please? Ready?
Gutted I can't make it across to catch up with old friends. It's a special time at university, and really disappointed that the Tonys and the Gregors and all the old friends I've got, I'll not be able to catch up. So maybe there'll be a golf weekend in Edinburgh or something like that within the next 5 years. And until 2020, have a great weekend. Enjoy the anatomy, and great to have all the news and the pictures. Hopefully I'll be able to see what you've all been doing. Take care, all the best. Ciao from hot, sticky Doha and the Asia Cup qualifiers.
We also received this rather cryptic e-card. Some of you may understand it. I'm not quite so sure myself. It came from a Chidden at dim.dim.dim.org. Our second major task this evening is an important one. 5 years ago, 2 rather courageous members of our year who had probably drunk too much volunteered to stage this event. Just look at what the job did to them. So, 2 semi-bankruptcies, a new wife. Congratulations, Tony. No wonder you're looking a little bit nervous, Kate. And multiple cyber attacks later. We're indebted to Tony and Sean for taking this task on with such willingness. I'm going to ask Roz and Leslie to come forward because we have a little presentation thing for you. Roz is walking really well on their very high heels. And could I ask Sean to come forward first? I'm the other guy. Did he come too? You have set a really high standard for whoever comes behind you and whoever will supervise our 40-year get-together. And by then, who knows? Airdrie may be doing... No, they'll still be crap, won't they? Yeah. We also need to thank Mike Davis and Gail and Johnny and Hugh Toomey we also need to thank Andy Beale, of course, who is the brother of Simon Russell Beale. And finally, we would like to thank Mark Aarons, Professor Mark Aarons, for arranging the trip to the anatomy. Joe. Google is a wonderful thing. It helps you get a wee feel for what people are up to. And I've had a real privileged position. People have been emailing me and sending me pictures, and it gives me a real appreciation of what people in our year have been up to. Across the world, in medicine land, in surgery land, in GP land, in public health land. Tonight, you are sitting beside some pretty amazing people. If what they emailed me is true. There are GPs amongst us who have been working in the same communities since the early 90s, seeing thousands and thousands of patients. There are public health doctors amongst us who are changing national policies in countries like Canada. There are world leaders in all sorts of different surgeries. There are entrepreneurs who are running multi-million companies. There are doctors who aren't running multi-million, despite what the Daily Mail says. There are docs in NHS land and docs in private health land, docs in the voluntary sector and in the charity sector, docs in resource limited land. And there are researchers doing all sorts of things that I wouldn't have the first clue about. In America, in England, here in Edinburgh. Mark Aaron's Google page is really scary. I would not want to get him in a pathology final. And then there's the McRae Laboratory in Harvard, built around our own wee Callum McRae. Didn't the lad do well? Can I read what his research is in? His research is focused on understanding the genetic contribution to common cardiovascular disease using human studies and complementary high-throughput biology in the zebra fish. Now, he's come a long way. I can tell you, there aren't many zebrafish in Skye. We have pediatricians. We have obstetricians. Jonathan Morris is some sort of Australian lord. Now, how on earth did that happen? Our year have published books. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Gail. Just an example of the stuff that is on people's libraries, on people's bookshelves that have come from us. And we've written hundreds of articles in hundreds of journals. From the Peterhead Airdrieonian Football Supporters annual report. This is a rather niche publication. It has a limited impact factor. Which, we've gone from Peterhead all the way to Nature. And Nature, apparently, is a magazine which apparently has got nothing to do with taking your clothes off in the south of France. We've got rehab doctors and sports doctors who would just love to do amazing things to Jose Mourinho, and many other sorts of doctors besides. And then there are the psychiatrists. Okay. And that is only the medical stuff. The FYC85 virus has spread into many other areas as well, apart from medicine. We have bred, we have married in varieties of orders, we've done lots of sporty things, and we've done lots of motorbike things. We have excelled at things, and failed at things, and been average at things. We have run lots, and cycled lots, played lots, when we are old enough to know better. We have had bits of our bodies broken when we've been doing this stuff. We've been wounded in work, we've been wounded in relationships, but we've kept on going. I can appreciate that a reunion brings a certain glow to our reflections on the past. But in seeing what people from our wee year, have done with their lives, it's hard not to feel a wee smattering of pride that we've been able to do some things which has mattered to a lot of people. And what is more, every one of us has been at medical school together with Simon Russell Neal's brother. So we are only 2 handshakes away from pretty well anybody. Talking of psychiatrists, which I wasn't, I saw this picture of a very young-looking David Cameron studiously managing to avoid looking at Phil Davison. I don't know, but I think Phil had just tried to sell him his book on CBT for world leaders. But clearly, Dave had something else on his mind. Phil, I just hope you washed your hands. But imagine, Mr. Google gazumped even the pig with our own Dave Williamson, who heads up the the post-traumatic stress disorder work with soldiers from Iraq and Afghanistan in America. So, we can take comfort that we are only one handshake away from Barack Obama, one handshake away from David Cameron's pig, and of course, very close, Simon Russell. Our year has also experienced difficult times. We have not been immune from life's sorrows, as well as sharing in its joys. Sadly, we are no longer a complete class. And our anatomies have also, for some of us, changed since we were last together. Bits have broken, bits have been taken out, bits have been replaced. We have faced addictions, convictions, courses and divorces, challenges and successes of all sorts. And most sadly, some of our year are no longer with us. I would like to mention just one of these, David Gould, who died earlier this year. And I do so to mention David as a representative of all those who have left us. But also, I'd like to mention David because of the speech he left us in the way he dealt with the last part of his life. I'm going to read the words that went into his local newspaper. A much-loved Keith GP, who defied his terminal diagnosis to go on a road trip around Europe with his family, has died. Tributes have been paid to Mr. Dr. David Gould of Keith Health Centre, who died on Monday, aged 53, after being diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer out of the blue in January 2014. After a brief stint of chemotherapy, he was given 18 months to live, and the keen adventurer set to work on getting the most of his remaining time with his wife, Louise, and 3 daughters. Mrs. Gould said, "When we got the diagnosis, we decided we were going to go on a road trip. So we took 5 weeks last May, went from Spain to France and Italy in his Triumph Stag, his pride and joy. We never talked about his cancer, we left it on the doorstep." A highlight from that trip, which typified Dr. Gould, was his staggering 13-mile ascent of Mount Ventoux in the French Alps on his fold-away Brompton cycle. 6 months after his diagnosis. I don't think he had brain mets. Eldest daughter Hannah said, as a dad, he was always encouraging any adventure. He just wanted us to have experience. There was nothing that would stop him. People wouldn't dream of doing that at Mont Ventoux in peak fitness, let alone the way that Dad was. Dr. Gould joined the Keith practice in 1992 after graduating from the University of Edinburgh. Mrs. Gould described her husband as a doctor to the very end. She added he had, ironically, done his palliative care diploma, and a lot of people said if they wanted anybody by their bedside, it was David. It was just cruel, because he was too young, but he was very stoical about it all. He was a doctor to the very end. And so, FYC85, can I ask you to stand, please, and raise a toast together to absent friends.
Absent friends.
A good guy, a good guy. Thank you very much indeed. Seizing the day and making the most out of our day, it seems to be a bit of a theme for our year. And I'm just so glad that I've had the chance to do medicine at a time when it was still possible to do stuff without being completely buried under a mountain of regulatory nonsense and health and safety fears. that sucks the life out of you sometimes like a fleet of Harry Potter dementors. Do you recognize what I'm talking about? Yes. In palliative care, carpe diem is a frequent theme in our conversations with patients. A few months after starting in the hospice in Belfast, one of the patients called me over to him in the room. He was standing by his bedside and sat down. Doctor, can you tell me how long I've got? Now, this wasn't the ideal time, but we in palliative care were supposed to be really touchy-feely. We're supposed to put the patient first, do all that sort of thing, and we learn how to tilt our heads and be very, all that stuff, okay? So I pulled up a chair and did the whole preamble thing, talked about uncertainties, family not focusing on time so much as doing the things that they really need to do. And 30 minutes later, we'd nearly finished. Doctor, that was so helpful. You've answered lots of questions that I had. But can I just go back a wee bit to when you came in? How long have I got before lunchtime? Do you think I could nip up to the shop and buy a newspaper? Prognostication is never easy. Yet if we look back to 1985, lots of things we have done and the people we have become were very much part of that time 30 years ago. We may look a bit different, apart from Roz and Martin, and some even think Kevin Seeks. But when I think back to that time, what I remember is not the course of the radial nerve, sorry Dr. Kerr, or the metabolic pathway associated with acetyl dehydrogenase of Dr. Ramsay Bowman, sorry. I can just about remember that there was a book called Stryer, for those not man enough to face Leninger. But much more vivid are the memories of time spent with members of our class, doing attachments in the Corcody, going after phase 2 bacteriology exams out to the beach in North Berwick. Karlops? They say if you can remember Karlops, you weren't there. The RMS? Feeling totally intimidated by all these super bright people? Meeting patients for the first time? Examining living bodies for the first time? Working as a JHO in final year? Imagine that. Doing student cover. We never get away with that these days. That's when you really got scared. Having to get on with people that wouldn't be your bosom buddies, but knowing it, just get on with it. And then dealing with the never-ending stream, the Edinburgh way of exam after exam after exam after exam. At that time, the particulars of what we were studying seemed so important. So whether it was 35% or 38% of people who had a 5-year prognosis with small cell, or whatever. That stuff seemed really important. And I didn't really understand, you know that phrase by the Prof, the names don't matter a rap. Because every exam, the names clearly did matter a rap. But 30 years on, maybe he was right. Maybe he was right. Lots of the names we crammed in don't matter a rap now. But other stuff we learned between 1980 and 1985 has stuck, has mattered. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity I was given, that we were all given, to teach each other something about what it means to be a doctor. Something which has been the cornerstone, I know in my professional life, and maybe for yours. So clearly, you can see that the fog of befuddled old fartdom is descending rapidly. Many of us are seeing the distant hills of retirement now a lot closer. But before the final toast to our year, when I'll ask you to charge your glasses, I wanted to finish with a musical reflection. A few months ago, I had a chat with one of our year about this old fart stuff. And he came up with some pretty special words, I thought, and then some music, and he took it to a recording studio, and I thought we might give it its world premiere tonight in the Balmoral Hotel, Edinburgh, 2015, along with a few of our images. It's called Outside the Dissection Room.
Forgive me if I don't recall your name, but I remember you and I when we were waiting in white black coats outside the room. Describe the course of the radial nerve. Describe the course of a life, who I was, who I became. Name all adjacent structures, those that have changed, those that have remained the same. I remember the day that I gave my body to science. It was kind of getting in the way, so I gave my body to science. Building resilience from day one, by requiring you to concentrate your mind whilst wandering amongst the dead. Building resilience from day one, that may lead to loving kindness you can find. Romance in the room. And when I needed to escape, I just gave my body to science. And it assumed a different shape when I gave my body to science. And you and I have left our names upon the surface of this world. And you and I have placed our hands into the woods of this world. And you and I, when we look this life directly in the eye, and we grateful that when we were young, we were mercifully blinded by science. The incomplete remembrance of names, your origins and insertions and points of attachment held by imperfect loving memory, and the years don't matter a rap. And was the great man in the room when you gave your body to science? Smiling in the room when you gave your body to silence.
Why does nobody tell us his name?
Could we say thank you to Dave for his great service? Ladies and gentlemen, after the toast, we have a delight to set before you the two Gregors, and they have assured me that they have taken legal advice, and they're up for it if you want to take them on. And so, ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you to charge your glasses and be upstanding, and let us say a toast together. The toast is to the past, the present, and the future of FYC85. To the past, the present, and the future of FYC85. Thank you very much.
That was a good call. Oh, fantastic, yeah, fantastic. Very, very good.
We've reached that age when we need to take account of our detruser. So we're going to have a wee break just for a few minutes.